Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert B. Cialdini. Influence is not merely a tool, it is the invisible thread weaving through every interaction you have with others. Robert B. Cialdini's groundbreaking exploration reveals the science behind why people say yes and how to apply this knowledge ethically. This book unpacks psychological principles that determine decision-making, empowering you to recognize manipulative tactics and harness these principles to create genuine influence. The lessons are not theoretical abstractions, but grounded in decades of research, real-world examples, and insights from psychology, sociology, and behavioral economics. Understanding influence equips you to navigate a world where persuasion dictates outcomes, from personal relationships to professional success. You cannot afford ignorance of these dynamics, as influence governs every deal you close, every favor you ask, and every belief you shape. With each principle, you gain clarity on how persuasion operates in the trenches of daily life, and how to wield it with integrity. Lesson 1. Reciprocity. The principle of reciprocity is one of the most powerful forces driving human interaction, shaping behaviors across cultures and contexts. At its core, reciprocity taps into an ingrained sense of fairness, compelling you to return a favor when one is given to you. This psychological obligation stems from our evolutionary history, where cooperation and mutual support were essential for survival. Robert Cialdini's example of the Hare Krishna movement illustrates this concept vividly. In the 1970s, members of this group handed out small, seemingly insignificant gifts, often flowers, to travelers in airports. Most people didn't even want the flowers, but the mere act of receiving them created a subtle, subconscious pressure to reciprocate. Many travelers ended up giving donations, even if they had no interest in supporting the movement, simply because they felt an unspoken debt. This principle extends far beyond airports. Modern businesses deploy reciprocity strategically to influence consumer behavior. Free samples at grocery stores, complimentary consultations, and try-before-you-buy models all hinge on the same instinctive reaction. Consider a company like Netflix, which offers free trial periods. This tactic isn't just about attracting customers, it's about creating a sense of obligation. Once you experience the service, even for free, you're far more likely to subscribe, partly because you feel you've received something of value and want to balance the exchange. The beauty of reciprocity is its subtlety. People often don't realize they're being influenced, but the emotional pull is undeniable. To deepen your understanding, compare this principle to the Japanese concept of a cultural tradition of debt and gratitude. In Japan, when someone receives a gift or favor, they often feel a profound sense of obligation to reciprocate, sometimes even surpassing the original gesture. This cultural norm underscores how deeply ingrained reciprocity is in human psychology. It's not just about material exchanges, it governs relationships, reputation, and social harmony. Similarly, during World War II, Allied forces dropped food and supplies into occupied territories as part of their psychological warfare strategy. These acts of goodwill generated goodwill among civilians, demonstrating the broader impact of reciprocity in fostering alliances and weakening opposition. Another compelling comparison comes from the world of philanthropy. Studies reveal that people who receive small tokens of appreciation, such as personalized thank you notes or small gifts from charities, are significantly more likely to donate again. The principle of reciprocity doesn't just apply to money, it extends to time, effort, and even emotions. A warm smile, an encouraging word, or an act of kindness can inspire others to mirror your generosity, creating a ripple effect that strengthens connections. But reciprocity is a double-edged sword. You must recognize when others attempt to exploit this instinct in you. Scammers and unethical marketers often use reciprocity to manipulate decisions. For instance, Some high-pressure sales tactics involve giving you a free gift up front, like a fancy pen or a small gadget, only to push you into buying an overpriced product in return. Awareness is your best defense. When you encounter such situations, pause and evaluate whether the value offered genuinely benefits you or if it's a calculated move to sway your judgment. To use reciprocity effectively in your own life, focus on authenticity. Offering value without expecting immediate returns builds trust and goodwill over time. Genuine gestures create lasting relationships, both personally and professionally. Think about how this principle plays out in mentorship. When you invest time and knowledge into helping someone else succeed, you're not just offering a favor, you're laying the groundwork for a reciprocal relationship that can pay dividends in ways you can't predict. Likewise, in negotiations, starting with a concession, even a small one, can set the tone for mutual exchange and lead to more favorable outcomes. Reciprocity is not merely a tactic, it's a fundamental aspect of human interaction that, when wielded responsibly, fosters collaboration and strengthens connections. Always give generously and genuinely, but maintain a keen awareness of when others are attempting to manipulate your instincts. Mastering this principle empowers you to navigate social and professional dynamics with confidence, ensuring that every exchange is both ethical and effective. Lesson 2. Commitment and consistency. Humans are deeply wired to maintain consistency between their actions, beliefs, and commitments. This desire stems from a psychological need to appear reliable and rational, both to ourselves and others. Robert Cialdini demonstrates the power of this principle through a study involving homeowners and safe driving advocacy. When asked to display a small, inconspicuous sign supporting safe driving, many agreed without hesitation. Weeks later, those same homeowners were approached with a much larger request to place an oversized, highly visible billboard on their lawns. Remarkably, those who had previously agreed to the small sign were far more likely to consent to the larger, more intrusive request. This phenomenon, known as the foot-in-the-door technique, highlights how small commitments pave the way for larger ones by reinforcing an individual's self-image as someone who supports a particular cause or belief. This principle echoes throughout history and literature, where small initial concessions grow into monumental shifts. In George Orwell's 1984, the totalitarian regime doesn't seize complete control over individual thought overnight. Instead, it begins with subtle adjustments to language, such as introducing simplified terms in newspeak. These small changes eventually erode the complexity of thought, making the population easier to manipulate. The party exploits the human desire for consistency, forcing individuals to align their beliefs with their actions, no matter how contradictory or oppressive the system becomes. By the time drastic measures like public confessions and loyalty tests are introduced, most people have already internalized the regime's ideology, making resistance nearly impossible. The power of commitment and consistency is also evident in modern sales and marketing. Subscription models often leverage this principle by offering free trials or introductory offers. Once you've signed up and experienced the service, canceling feels inconsistent with the decision you initially made. Similarly, car dealerships frequently use incremental agreements, such as convincing you to test drive a vehicle, knowing that this small action increases the likelihood of a purchase. These strategies capitalize on your internal need to align your behavior with your previous choices, even when the stakes escalate. Historical examples also showcase the strength of this principle in shaping movements and societies. During the American Civil Rights Movement, activists used commitment and consistency to great effect. Organizers would begin by asking individuals to sign petitions or attend small gatherings. These initial low-risk commitments were instrumental in building momentum for larger actions such as participating in marches or sit-ins. Each step reinforced the individual's self-perception as someone who believed in and supported the cause, making them more willing to take greater risks over time. This gradual escalation not only built a sense of personal investment, but also created a ripple effect of collective action. You must also recognize the potential for manipulation inherent in this principle. Once you make a public declaration or take a visible stance, others can use your commitment to pressure you into further actions that may not align with your best interests. For example, in toxic workplace environments, employees are often encouraged to take on small, unpaid responsibilities under the guise of teamwork. Over time, these minor concessions evolve into expectations for uncompensated overtime or additional duties, leaving individuals trapped by their initial commitment. To use this principle effectively in your own life, begin with small, intentional actions that align with your long-term goals. Whether it's adopting a new habit, pursuing a career change, or building relationships, incremental commitments solidify your identity and create momentum. If you want to inspire action in others, start with manageable requests that are easy to fulfill. Then build on that foundation. This approach fosters trust and ensures that each step reinforces the larger goal. Equally important is guarding against manipulation. Always evaluate whether your commitments genuinely align with your values and objectives. Pause before escalating your involvement in any situation to ensure that each step serves your greater purpose rather than someone else's agenda. Mastering commitment and consistency empowers you to harness their transformative potential while remaining vigilant against their misuse. Lesson 3. Social proof. Social proof is a cornerstone of human behavior, particularly in uncertain or ambiguous situations. It operates on the premise that you look to others for guidance on how to act, think, or decide. This reliance on group behavior isn't a flaw, but an evolutionary adaptation. In unfamiliar or risky circumstances, copying what others do often leads to safety or success. Robert Cialdini explains this principle through examples as ordinary yet revealing as laugh tracks in sitcoms. Even when you know the laughter is artificial, it subtly influences your perception of the show's humor, guiding you to laugh along. Similarly, a crowded restaurant signals quality to passers-by, driving them to choose it over an empty one. The herd instinct is powerful, and it shapes decisions in ways you often don't consciously realize. Cialdini highlights the classic Asch conformity experiments to demonstrate the extent of social proof's influence. In these studies, participants were asked to judge the lengths of lines. When placed in a group where others deliberately gave incorrect answers, most individuals conformed to the group's opinion, even when it contradicted clear, observable reality. This willingness to align with the group underscores how deeply the need for social acceptance is ingrained. People fear standing out or being ostracized, so they adjust their actions, even their beliefs, to fit the crowd. The implications are profound, affecting not just individual behavior but societal norms and trends. Social proof has also been a critical driver of significant historical events. Consider the civil disobedience campaigns led by Mahatma Gandhi in India. Gandhi's strategy relied on creating visible acts of non-violent resistance that others could witness and replicate. Each small act of defiance encouraged broader participation, as people saw their peers taking a stand and felt emboldened to join the movement. The collective power of social proof transformed individual actions into a nationwide push for independence, illustrating its capacity to drive systemic change when aligned with a clear, compelling vision. In marketing and consumer behavior, social proof is everywhere. Online reviews, testimonials, and star ratings are modern manifestations of this principle. Companies understand that seeing others endorse a product or service dramatically increases your likelihood of buying it. Amazon, for instance, prominently displays customer reviews and frequently bought-together suggestions to leverage this tendency. Similarly, social media influencers capitalize on social proof by showcasing how others use or admire their recommendations, shaping trends and driving sales. This principle works because it reduces decision-making anxiety. When you see that others approve of something, you feel reassured about following their lead. Social proof isn't always benign, and it can steer you off course if you're not vigilant. Consider the Salem witch trials, where mass hysteria led entire communities to accuse and condemn innocent people. These events were fueled by a feedback loop of social proof. Each accusation reinforced others' belief in the presence of witches, driving further accusations. This dark side of social proof reveals its potential to amplify fear, prejudice, or destructive behaviors when left unchecked. You must critically evaluate whether the crowd's behavior aligns with reason and evidence, or if it's driven by emotion and misinformation. To harness social proof effectively, focus on building credibility and showcasing peer endorsement in your own efforts. When you want to persuade others, demonstrate that people they respect or identify with already support your position. This is particularly effective in team environments, where shared support fosters collaboration and alignment. On a personal level, choose your influences deliberately. Surround yourself with people whose actions and values align with your goals, as their behavior will inevitably shape yours. If you're in a leadership role, recognize the ripple effect of your actions. Your behavior sets a precedent that others will likely follow. The power of social proof lies in its ability to simplify decision-making and foster connection, but it demands awareness and discernment. Always ask yourself whether following the group aligns with your values and objectives, or if it merely reflects the comfort of conformity. When guiding others, use social proof wisely and ethically, ensuring it serves as a tool for empowerment rather than manipulation. Recognize its power, but never relinquish your critical thinking to the crowd. Lesson 4. Authority. Authority wields immense power over human behavior, often overriding personal judgment and critical thinking. This principle stems from a deep-seated psychological tendency to trust and obey those perceived as knowledgeable or in positions of power. Robert Cialdini illustrates this phenomenon through Stanley Milgram's infamous obedience experiments. Participants, under the instruction of an authority figure in a lab coat, were asked to administer what they believed were painful electric shocks to another person. Despite hearing cries of pain or silence indicating unconsciousness, many participants continued the experiment, prioritizing obedience over their moral discomfort. This chilling outcome highlights the extent to which authority can compel individuals to act against their own values, underscoring both the power and danger of this principle. Authority shapes decisions in everyday life, often without you realizing it. Titles, uniforms, and symbols of expertise amplify credibility, creating a shortcut for trust. A doctor's white coat, a police officer's badge, or a CEO's corner office are all markers that signal authority and legitimacy. These cues are not inherently manipulative. They exist because expertise and experience often deserve recognition. However, the misuse of such markers can lead to disastrous consequences. Consider the financial scandals of the early 2000s, like Enron, where executives with prestigious credentials and polished appearances exploited their perceived authority to manipulate investors and employees. Their outward markers of credibility masked unethical behavior, leaving destruction in their wake. This serves as a reminder to critically evaluate authority rather than accepting it blindly. Books like Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek explore the distinction between authentic and superficial authority. Authentic authority stems from competence, trust and ethical leadership, while superficial authority relies on appearances and intimidation. Sinek emphasizes that true leaders earn loyalty by prioritizing the well-being of their teams, fostering environments where trust flourishes. In contrast, false authority erodes trust and creates toxic dynamics. The distinction is critical. While authentic authority inspires collaboration and respect, superficial authority manipulates and exploits, often at great cost to those who follow. Authority's influence extends into historical contexts, such as the Nuremberg trials following World War II. Many defendants justified their actions by claiming they were just following orders. This defense highlights how deeply ingrained the impulse to obey authority can be, even when it leads to atrocities. The trials ultimately rejected this argument, establishing that moral responsibility cannot be abdicated to authoritative figures. This pivotal moment in history serves as a stark reminder of the ethical responsibility tied to obedience and the need to question authority when it conflicts with fundamental principles of right and wrong. In marketing and persuasion, authority is a powerful tool. Advertisers frequently employ endorsements from experts, celebrities, or influencers to lend credibility to their products. Phrases like "doctor recommended" or "scientifically proven" tap into your instinct to trust authority. While these endorsements can guide you toward informed decisions, they can also be exploited. False authority, such as unverified claims or endorsements by individuals without relevant expertise, manipulates consumer behavior and undermines trust. You must remain vigilant, questioning whether the authority behind a claim is legitimate and well-founded. To use authority effectively in your own life, focus on building genuine expertise and credibility. Whether in leadership, mentorship, or professional settings, your authority should stem from knowledge, integrity, and the ability to inspire trust. People are more likely to follow and respect you when they perceive your authority as earned rather than imposed. Conversely, when dealing with authority figures, don't be swayed by superficial markers like titles or appearances. Evaluate their actions, intentions, and competence critically before placing your trust in them. Authority is a tool that requires responsible wielding. As a leader or influencer, you must recognize the weight your authority carries and use it to uplift, guide, and inspire rather than control or exploit. Equally, as a follower, you must balance respect for authority with your own moral compass and critical thinking. Authority is not inherently good or bad. Its impact depends entirely on how it is used. Respect it, question it, and wield it wisely. Lesson 5. Scarcity. Scarcity is one of the most powerful psychological drivers of human behavior, capable of influencing decisions and elevating perceived value almost instantaneously. This principle hinges on the idea that people want what they can't easily have. When something is limited in availability or offered for only a short time, its desirability skyrockets. Robert Cialdini demonstrates this phenomenon with a simple yet effective example: a grocery store advertisement that read, "Limit 2 per customer." This subtle framing, emphasizing scarcity, spurred customers to buy more than they might have otherwise. The very suggestion of limitation creates a sense of urgency, compelling people to act before the opportunity disappears. This principle finds its roots in basic economic theories of supply and demand. When supply is constrained, demand intensifies. This concept extends beyond economics into nearly every aspect of human psychology and behavior. Scarcity triggers an innate fear of missing out, a phenomenon often referred to as FOMO. This fear can cloud your judgment and push you to act impulsively, valuing the opportunity not for its intrinsic worth but for its perceived rarity. Think of how quickly limited edition products sell out, or how events marked as one night only fill venues to capacity. Scarcity creates an emotional response that often overrides rational analysis, making it one of the most potent tools in the arsenal of persuasion. The cinematic portrayal of Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street vividly illustrates the manipulative side of scarcity. Belfort and his team leveraged the illusion of limited stock availability to pressure buyers into purchasing worthless investments. Phrases like, "There's only a few left," or "You need to act now," ignited a sense of urgency, leading clients to make rash decisions. This type of manufactured scarcity is deceptive and undermines trust, but it underscores how easily this principle can be weaponized. By contrast, legitimate scarcity, when used transparently, can effectively highlight genuine opportunities without crossing ethical lines. Real-world applications of scarcity are everywhere, particularly in marketing and sales. Limited-time offers, flash sales, and exclusive memberships all draw on this principle. Black Friday promotions are a prime example, where retailers deliberately create time-sensitive deals to incite buying frenzies. The mere idea of a product or deal being fleeting compels people to act quickly, often without fully considering whether the purchase aligns with their actual needs or priorities. Scarcity isn't just about tangible goods. It applies to time, attention, and even opportunities. Job postings with phrases like "applications close soon" or networking events labeled "invite only" leverage the same psychological triggers. Historical events also illustrate the impact of scarcity on decision-making. During the California gold rush in the mid-1800s, the allure of scarce gold reserves drew thousands of prospectors westward, many abandoning stable lives for the mere chance of striking it rich. The perceived scarcity of gold heightened its value and created an urgency that drove risky and sometimes irrational behaviors. While the gold rush brought wealth to some, it also resulted in widespread exploitation and hardship, demonstrating how scarcity can push people toward extreme actions. To harness scarcity effectively in your own endeavors, focus on authenticity. When you genuinely limit availability, whether it's a product, an offer, or your own time, you elevate its perceived value without manipulating others. In negotiations, framing opportunities as rare can motivate faster and more decisive action. For example, emphasizing the uniqueness of your skills or the limited window to close a deal can prompt stronger engagement. However, fabricating scarcity undermines trust and credibility. Once people realize the scarcity is artificial, they'll question your integrity, damaging long-term relationships and reputation. Understanding scarcity also helps you resist its manipulative effects. When faced with an urgent opportunity, pause and assess whether the scarcity is real or manufactured. Ask yourself whether the decision aligns with your needs and goals or if you're acting out of impulse. Recognize how this principle biases your thinking, and reclaim control by slowing down and evaluating the situation rationally. Scarcity's power lies in its ability to create focus and urgency, but it demands ethical application. Use it to highlight genuine value and unique opportunities while guarding yourself against its manipulative potential. When wielded responsibly, scarcity becomes a tool for clarity and action, guiding you and others toward meaningful decisions. Lesson 6. Liking. Liking is a profoundly influential principle of persuasion rooted in the universal human tendency to say yes to those we find likable. This principle, as explored by Robert Cialdini, highlights the factors that drive likability: physical attractiveness, shared interests, and genuine compliments. People are naturally drawn to those who make them feel valued and understood, often responding with trust and agreement. Cialdini illustrates this through the phenomenon of Tupperware parties, where friends sell products within their social circles. These gatherings leverage the strength of personal relationships, making attendees more inclined to buy, not because of the products themselves, but because of their connection to the host. This intersection of commerce and camaraderie underscores the power of liking to influence decisions, even in transactional settings. Liking extends far beyond direct sales. Dale Carnegie, in his classic How to Win Friends and Influence People, emphasizes the importance of making others feel important and appreciated. Carnegie's timeless advice aligns perfectly with Cialdini's findings. People gravitate toward those who show genuine interest in them, affirm their worth, and reflect shared values. Whether in personal relationships, professional settings, or social interactions, fostering likability builds bridges of trust and cooperation. This principle is not about manipulation, but about cultivating authentic connections that naturally lead to influence. The impact of liking is deeply woven into human history. Consider how John F. Kennedy's charisma and likability played a pivotal role in his political success. Kennedy's ability to connect with people, both through his eloquent speeches and his approachable demeanor, won him the trust and admiration of millions. His likability didn't just elevate his public image, it allowed him to galvanize support for ambitious initiatives like the Apollo program. His example illustrates how likability can be a powerful catalyst for rallying others around a vision or cause. In the realm of entertainment, likability also reigns supreme. Iconic characters like Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird embody the qualities that make people inherently likable: empathy, integrity, and a sense of fairness. These traits resonate with audiences, creating an emotional bond that enhances the story's impact. Similarly, in your own life, demonstrating qualities that others respect and admire, such as kindness, authenticity, and generosity, can make you a magnetic presence in any room. However, the principle of liking has its pitfalls, particularly when used manipulatively. Excessive flattery, superficial charm, or deceptive friendliness can all be tools of exploitation. Pyramid schemes and multi-level marketing operations often prey on personal relationships, using the trust and goodwill inherent in friendships to push products or recruit members. Such tactics blur the line between genuine connection and opportunistic manipulation. You must remain vigilant, discerning when likability is being leveraged authentically versus when it's a facade designed to sway you toward decisions that don't serve your best interests. To harness the power of liking effectively, focus on fostering genuine rapport and empathy. Take an active interest in others, listen attentively, and offer sincere compliments that reflect thoughtfulness rather than empty flattery. Shared interests and common goals can also strengthen bonds, making collaboration and agreement more natural. In negotiations, for instance, establishing a personal connection before diving into the specifics can create a foundation of trust that facilitates smoother discussions and better outcomes. Remember, true likability is not about pleasing everyone or masking your authentic self. It's about showing respect, kindness, and understanding to those you interact with. Equally important is protecting yourself from the undue influence of liking. Be mindful of how your judgments might be swayed by a person's charm or physical appearance. When making decisions, separate your emotional response to the individual from the objective merits of their request or proposal. This critical awareness ensures that your choices remain aligned with your values and goals rather than being unduly influenced by personal affinity. Liking is a double-edged sword that, when used with authenticity and integrity, builds trust and opens doors. Approach this principle as a way to strengthen relationships and foster goodwill. And you will find that likability not only enhances your influence, but also enriches your connections. At the same time, stay vigilant against superficial charm that seeks to manipulate. By mastering this principle, you wield a subtle but powerful force for persuasion rooted in mutual respect and genuine connection. Conclusion: influence operates through universal principles that transcend culture and time. Reciprocity, commitment, social proof, authority, scarcity, and liking form a framework for understanding and shaping human behavior. These lessons demand that you stay vigilant, as influence can be a double-edged sword. You must use these principles ethically to build trust, persuade authentically, and recognize when others attempt manipulation. Books like Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman and Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath further expand your understanding of psychology and persuasion. Armed with this knowledge, you hold the power to shape outcomes and elevate your interactions. Remember, the ultimate goal is not manipulation, but connection and impact. The end.